Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from the petrified forest somewhere in Arizona. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host Raghunath and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the petrified forest. Welcome to Thursday. And we are driving across the country, and we just left the Grand Canyon last night.
How was
Soon
it?
we'll post. It was breathtaking. It was breathtaking.
You're still breathing, though.
It's like a painting. You can't even imagine it. We just got there for sunset. Truthfully, we just spent like an hour and a half walking around, taking photos. You know, the usual yoga thing. You get there, do Warrior 2 on the south rim. That's what yogis do. They just do Warrior 2. Here's a picture. Get a picture of me doing crow. But yeah. Sam is writing on the message board. Pictures can't do it justice. You can't even imagine. It almost looks like a picture. But it was incredible. And me and Bhakti Justin have decided that we are singing and recording us doing inspirational spiritual musicals on this whole way back. So if you go to my Instagram account, you will get Jesus Christ Superstar today. I learned the entire Bible from Jesus Christ Superstar and Godspell. Were you ever into them?
The entire Bible?
The New Testament.
The entire New Testament?
Entire New Testament. That's where I get all my scripture from. And we've come to the conclusion that the Hare Krishna movement, the Bhakti movement, needs its own rock opera. And we're ready to take that mission up.
Doesn't it?
No.
Mangalananda? Yeah, there's a rock opera.
Doesn't count.
Why not?
It's old school, man.
Well, all these musicals are old school. You know, all the ones that you're singing.
I know, but there's a new generation now.
All
We
right.
got to take it to this next
You
level.
can do like a hip hop thing or something.
We could mix it up. We could
All
mix
right.
that up. Mara, what do you think?
Sure.
Musicals, rock operas?
Sure, I won't be listening to it, but yeah, if it makes you happy.
I think you will be. I think you will be listening to it. We might have a part for you. Who could Mara be? Go stupid. You could be Punch's pilot. When you get in your mean mood. Oh, Raghunath.
You know, I went to the beach yesterday.
That sounds like a whole lot of Maya, Kaustubha.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was a whole lot of bhakti out there. I met two devotees out there actually. You know, it was beautiful. It's actually hot. You know, I was lying there on the beach, doing a little self-care, but the good kind of self-care, right? The good kind of self-care. Yeah, like where you're kind of like you know, healing that nervous system. You know, you got the earth there, you got the wind, you got the sun, the water. And I went into the water. It was freezing cold, so I wasn't in there very long. I came back out. And I was sitting right, you know, like right on the edge of the beach, you know, where the water's coming up. And I was just chanting and, you know, looking out over the ocean. and then out of nowhere, suddenly I hear, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It was like our opening, you know?
What?
Yeah, and I turned around behind me, and there was another there that was playing Wisdom of the Sages on their,
Wait,
uh,
there was an other there,
there
and
was
they were
another.
joke. They snuck up on you and
Exactly.
played that.
Yeah,
Oh,
but it was a
that's
friend of mine.
cute.
It's Ananda Bihari, great soul, you know, Ananda Bihari. He was a really, really wonderful devotee. And he listens every day. And he was saying, tell Raghunath and tell Mara that they're like our family members. Like they're in our home every
Oh,
day. We all listen to them. We all love them.
oh. Tell
It
them
was
I'm
nice.
stopping by for dinner. Then.
Oh,
If I'm in there, if I'm actually in their
his wife,
family,
Chinmay Rod, is an incredible cook. She's like so good. So yeah.
I'm coming. I'm coming. Well, that's
You can
nice.
look
It's
at
not the
Chinmay
others are the
Cooks
other.
on Instagram. CINMAYI. Chinmay Cooks on Instagram.
CIN or CHIN?
I think it's just CIN, but maybe
All
it's
right,
CH. I'm not sure.
Mara's writing it down.
Mara's on it. Chinmay
We'll
Cooks.
steal. We'll
And
steal
Mara, this is a big good
recipes.
one for you.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah.
Mara's so non-envious of other cooks. She's like, "There's
Yeah.
no scarcity. There's plenty of room for many cooks out there."
Chinmay
So
Cooks.
interesting,
There it
huh?
is. Yeah, CINMAYI_cooks. Check it out. A lot of nice recipes there.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was seeing devotees. I was having a great time out there.
Laying on his roof. You're living the life of Riley, aren't you?
Well, it was
Kaustubha.
nice. And yeah, from that, from there, I just jumped on the train, jumped out at Columbus Circle. Harinam, right there, Kirtan, right there on the streets of New York,
Wow.
Then I went up,
Like the
then had dinner on my
Kirtan
roof.
Finder app.
They have like
That's
they have like a WhatsApp group for that if people are interested.
All right. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Great news.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I thought you guys would be more interested. I thought you'd be a little bit more excited about the Lord Chaitanya rock opera, but
Well,
you know
you
what? I
gotta
think
produce
things like that, you
something.
just got to do it. You got to do it,
Yeah.
and then they'll jump on and say, "Yeah, I've been always thinking about the Lord Chaitanya rock opera."
We're skeptical
think-
right now. We're skeptical, but that's reasonable for us to be skeptical at this point. But if you got
You
some
know what?
inspiration,
Wait till you go to my new Instagram post and see me and Jason rocking out to Jesus Christ Superstar. You're gonna be like, these two are the people to do it.
yeah, but
Me and
somebody
Justin.
else created that.
Jason.
That's the point. you didn't.
Well-
you didn't write Jesus Christ Superstar. You're just, you're just
Maybe
doing
we should just
karaoke
take
to it.
different facets of other musicals and do karaoke to it, and
Okay.
somehow tie it in with Krishna.
All right.
We could do that too.
We're
Instead
patiently
of
waiting for that.
Instead of reinventing the wheel, Andrew Lloyd Webber did a bunch of good musicals.
That's right.
We could just lip sync them drag style.
Okay. We will very, very patiently wait for that, Raghu. You just take as much time as you need on that, and when you're ready,
Okay.
we'll hear it.
Okay, Dallas Hare Krishna Temple. We're coming. We're on our way. We're 13 hours away.
right.
Cruising across America. Next stop, Alachua. We're going to see Virabhadra and Jai Giridhari and Danya, and Bali,
Nice.
Rico. I know, excited.
Ricos.
The Ricos. All right. You want to dive into some sweet nectar?
Let's do it.
Do we have anything we were missing today?
Announcements,
Mara?
Mara?
We have a Bhakti recovery group meeting today at noon. And
With Sweet Baby Krishna, maybe.
Yeah, Sweet Baby Krishna, maybe tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time,
That's a
if it
late
works for
nighter.
Raghu.
That might be tough. That might be tough today.
Okay, maybe not.
All right.
That might be tough. It might, yeah, I'm really wanting. I need it. I need it myself, a Sweet Baby Krishna, but I'm doing sick baby driving.
Mm.
Should I? I'm sick baby. I don't know if our sweet babies can be on hold for that. Tomorrow could be a better option. They'll be more flexible. Okay, but let me share this.
Yeah.
The Wisdom Sages retreats are happening,
Mhm.
and if you haven't heard,
You just got your
Wisdom
tickets yesterday,
Sages.
right?
we got
You
our
and Mara.
tickets. We're Mara and Kaustubha, and we're all going to Long Beach, California. I think there might be 2 spaces left. If you haven't signed up, sign up at yoga108studio.com, yoga108studio.com. And of course, the Bhakti Center one the following week, the second week of June. That's going to be really special too. So if you live anywhere in the New York area or just want to visit New York in a nice, late spring, early summer morning, it's going to be really sweet. Going to be at the Bhakti Center. You're going to see all your favorite others and Zoomers. And we've created our own little weird cult, haven't we? You know, it's almost
It was
like
already
it's
there.
like
We just
it's like
joined it.
it's like what's that called? Comic-Tron? Comic-Tron? What's that called, Justin?
Comic-Con?
Comic-Con. It's like Comic-Con.
Comic-Con with the,
You know what Comic-Con is? Like a
It's,
convention where everybody
yeah.
dresses up like various.
Mhm.
You guys don't know about that. Mary,
I
you
do.
don't know about Comic-Con?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
You
I've
heard
never
of
been to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we've got our own little Comic-Con here with Wisdom of Sages. People
Well,
dressing up
I was
like
going to
Mara.
say that if people can't make the whole weekend for that New York retreat, if they can at least come to New York on the Saturday, right, which is the 12th, I believe, that you know, we could all meet at that parade, at that Rath Yatra festival and parade, you know. So at least try to free that day up.
Work on Friday for the kirtan. Yeah, we got to figure out. I think if they have some options, I got to talk to Doyle. Okay, that's it. And also, I have 2 spaces left for my Mexico retreat. Otherwise it's sold out. And that is, you know, Cindy Lunsford's putting that on, and me and Doyle are going to be there. That is at Hot Yoga Cindy or Hot Cindy Yoga, Hot Cindy Yoga. Just check my Instagram. It's going to be on my stories. Okay, let's dive into this, please.
All right. Mantras, please.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in class on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmadatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, Kaustubha.
No translation?
Oh, I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual masters opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances to his lotus feet.
All right.
All right, so we're broadcasting live from the pickup truck today, so trying our best to keep this camera steady and get comfortable sitting sideways after sleeping in the truck. Okay. All right, let's see what we got here. We are in text
Text 34 of
34.
Chapter 9 of Canto 3 of the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Great.
We have Lord Vishnu speaking to Lord Brahma, answering his prayers.
Answer his prayers. Since you have desired to increase the population innumerably and expand your varieties of service, you shall never be deprived in this matter, because my causeless mercy upon you will always increase for all time.
Mm-hmm.
Text 35. You are the original Rishi, and because your mind is always fixed on me, even though you will be engaged in generating various progeny.
Various. Not various.
Various. Making up words. The vicious mode of passion will never encroach upon you.
There you go. That's the answer to the prayer right there, Haruka.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if we go back, do you remember what he was praying for?
Yeah, he was praying that he doesn't get caught up in the conception of I am the doer.
Yeah.
In the generating process.
Yeah, pride. He's talking about pride, right?
And this is like an ongoing question people have. How do you do your duty if, for example, you're a leader, or if you are it seems like the gunas are affecting you, but if you put your focus on your service to Krishna, then the example is like Arjuna. Is Arjuna fighting in the mode of passion? No. Even passionate things can be purified by their refined intention. I use the example of like martial arts, because martial arts is fighting, but it's not fighting with rage like some thugs. It's actually like an art form, or something like having a child. sex in one sense is completely rajasic, but you can do it in such a way where you're calling a soul into the womb, where it's actually the highest, most beautiful conception of love making. So even things that are in different gunas can be purified by their refined intention. So here he's saying you're protected from that Raja guna because you're the original rishi and you're always fixed on me.
Well, this is the point, right? Well, it's a question of where's one's mind is at, where one's fixed. Because we need to examine. What is Rajaguna? What is the mode of passion? Here it's saying, and here's we're getting kind of like, again, in a sense, a formula. Normally, when we engage in some kind of work, some kind of action, we have a desire that we want to get out of it, right? Commonly for like our occupation, we want money for it, right? We do something and we're expecting to get some pay, and we're hoping that money, with that, we're going to be able to fulfill the desires, the things that we feel are lacking in our life that will bring us happiness. So
Sure.
if I can get some money, I'll be able to get a nicer house, or I'll be able to get a car, or I'll be able to get whatever it might be. And so that's, the mode of passion, if you want to study these gunas, it's essential for any yogi to understand, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the way the yogis view reality. Matter of fact, you can't even be happy unless you understand the gunas, because to really understand them, you can actually manipulate the gunas to make you happy in this world. Even if you're not a spiritual person, even if you don't believe in God, the gunas are like a reality. And if you start to figure out this sort of Rubik's cube of the gunas, you actually can be happy in this world, which is what everybody wants anyway.
Yeah, but in other words, you can find some contentment for sure, and if we go to the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, the whole chapter is dedicated to understanding these. The idea that if you could take all the material energy, which includes our bodies, which includes all our everything that we can see and touch, etc., and even subtle things, that are beyond that, like the mind, and we can say that they're composed of, just like they have the three primary colors. What these yoga texts are saying is that there's three energies that are blending in all different kind of ways to create all different kind of forms, and that have different influences. And that with any particular object, it's going to radiate one of those three influences. Sometimes it's kind of subtle, but sometimes it's really, very tangible, like the effect that it's having on one's consciousness. But either way, it's like our mind is prone to the effect of whatever we're associating with. And so generally, like, here's Brahma, he's got to create, and generally that's, connected closely with passion and energy. And he's understanding that when you're engaged in that way, it's likely that influence will take root in your mind. And it can result in pride. And so he's saying, I don't want my clarity to become compromised. I want to see the truth, and I don't want to go into illusion. And the first illusion is, once I start to create things, I think I'm the doer. I'm the person that created this. I'm particularly special because of this. This is all due to me. And then I forget where it's actually all coming from, which he's saying is Lord Vishnu. I want to remember that you're behind everything. And so it's the mode of passion, this Rajaguna, the Sattva guna, the mode of goodness. When we're influenced by that, we can generally see things clearly. But when that mode of passion sets in, fundamentally, its effect is that we feel something's lacking, and I need to get something to be happy. What I have right now is not enough. I need to reach out and get something, right?
Yeah, it's like forward thinking. It's not being.
Right. And so now this verse is saying, he says, Yat manaha mai nirbandham. He says, because your mind is always fixed on me, right? Because your manaha, mai is in me, and the word here is near bandham. The way this translates says compacting. It's like your mind is like strongly focused on me. So Vishnu is saying to Brahma, I get it. This is an important consideration as we move through this world, that we are being influenced, programmed, almost hacked. Like the computer of our mind is being hacked by all these different influences which are seeping in, telling you you're not happy, telling you you'll be happy when you get this. He's like saying, I don't want to be controlled in that way. I want to continue to see truth. So he's saying, here's the formula. It's because your mind is fixed in me. It's compact in me. And then he says, nabudnati papiyams tvam raja gunaha. He says, because that your mind is always fixed in me, therefore the vicious mode of passion will never encroach upon you. So there's the formula, right? It's like there are different practices of yoga that one can do to try to become free of the influence of these modes. Like if you read the Yoga Sutras, it describes ashtanga-yoga. Tough path, right?
Tough what?
Tough path.
It's a very tough path. If you're practicing it in the real, genuine sense of the word, and not just a physical practice, it means you've got to create a whole separate lifestyle for yourself, mostly away from your family. We've taken the word ashtanga-yoga, taken it out of context. We take it to be a fixed, set series of poses. Mm-hmm. But ashtanga, as they're talking about in the Yoga Sutras, is a little different. And a lot of times in the yoga system, or in modern yoga, there's gurus who take phrases like Kriya Yoga, and we start a whole society around Kriya Yoga, or Ashtanga Yoga, or this is done a few times. So take a word in the Yoga Sutras, and they create a whole system around it. But Ashtanga means the 8 limbs, and it's not just our physical practice. Yama, niyama. So first of all, you need a whole lifestyle, yamas and niyamas that accommodate a physical practice. And then you need a pranayama practice, and you need a meditation practice. You have to be isolated.
Asana practice.
They practice brahmachari. It's like a whole often reclusive type of practice in many ways to at least get the desired goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
we've
so,
taken it out of context.
Well, in other words, Pattabhi Jois, who is kind of known for teaching quote unquote Ashtanga yoga, I think people would ask him, what are you teaching? And in his mind, he would say, oh, it's Ashtanga yoga. And it kind of got it branded that way. But mostly what he was teaching was asana, which is one small part of a much larger practice. So as Raghunath is sharing, it involves, first of all, drastically changing one's lifestyle, and then it involves performing asana so that all of the channels in the body are flowing smooth, because that helps settle the mind. And it involves pranayama because that helps settle the mind. And it involves pratyahara, withdrawing the senses, because that helps settle the mind. And after you've done all of this intense work that most people aren't willing to do, what to speak of like secluding oneself from society and so on, then you begin to concentrate the mind, dharana. It's a practice of holding the mind fixed on one spot. And when you've mastered that, it may take many, many years, then you can actually enter into deeper states of meditation called dhyana, and ultimately into the state called samadhi, wherein in that state, because the mind has been stilled for longer periods of time, one begins to, it's very subtle. I can't necessarily describe exactly what it's like, but the reality of underneath it all, feeling one's own true nature, it kind of deals with all of that programming that we've had in the mind, all that passionate programming, right? Like all of these messages that we've had to tell us that you are not satisfied, you need this to be satisfied, you will be happy when you get this. All of that programming, which is really deep in us, sexual desire, desire for fame, desire for prestige, desire for adoration, all these things which are deeply programmed in us, that's all passionate energy, right? You won't be happy till you get this,
I think this is one reason why people get so much benefit, even of simple meditation where they're doing nothing except, not even spiritual meditation, but they're just like clearing the mind and breathing.
Yeah.
Deep breathing, stopping the thought process, focusing on the air going into the nostril, some type of Zen type of meditation, is because they're slowing everything down to the point of the mind becomes observable. They're getting themselves more to this out of the Rajagun. They stop their planning mind, and they develop some relief from the mode of passion, which is sort of very, very dominating. And even as people practicing bhakti, we have to notice it. We have to watch out for it, because we are immersed in it, in living in this world. We can't help it. If you have an iPhone, that iPhone is dragging you to the mode of passion. We can't even realize how fast that thing has got us in the mode of passion. It's practically, I would say it's actually tamasic, because it has this addictive potency to it that you just can't get out of it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
Is
both
the iPhone
Rajasic and
Rajasic or tamasic?
well, it's got both.
It's
I mean, it could be
tamasic.
sattvic if you're using it in the right way, but
Depends what apps you got, I
I
guess.
suppose it depends what apps you got on there. But yeah, so that ashtanga-yoga, the idea is it's a really hard practice. To settle the mind, to focus the mind, to hold it still. But like as you're saying, it's a practice that may or may not involve bringing the mind to God, right? Like God could be the focus of your meditation, but actually it could be anything. Any object that you could hold that mind on steadily for a long period of time can produce the effect wherein the programming that's in the mind, the false programming that's in the mind, you could become free of it. And you could really define that as becoming free from the influence of the gunas, right? And that's so where the Yoga Sutras end in the last sutra. Basically, it says that the conclusion is when these three modes of material nature, when they let you go, then you've achieved kaivalya, that kind of like freedom from their influence, and that's the goal of that path of yoga. But what Krishna is saying is there's another way. And you'll hear this message here in the Bhagavatam. You'll hear it in the Bhagavad-gita. As a matter of fact, I can think of two prominent places in the Bhagavad-gita where this message is shared, that as was said in this text number 35, because your mind is always fixed on me, right? He didn't say fix it on anything. He didn't say even go out to the forest because you perform pranayama and because you perform asana and because you perform pratyahara, et cetera, that because of that, you're free of the mode of passion. Here he said, because you fix your mind on me.
934, perhaps?
934? Well, there he's asking you to fix the mind on him. But what I'm saying is verses that specifically say that the modes of nature are transcended by bringing one's mind to Krishna, to that particular form, to those particular paths. In other words, the idea is that when you take the name of God, the form of God, the qualities of God, or the pastimes of God, and you bring the mind to that, and you fix your mind on that, it is the most powerful, like anti-guna, disinfectant, huh?
Gunabuster.
It's a Gunabuster. There you go, Raghunath. That's our takeaway for the day, right? Hashtag Gunabuster. That the ultimate Gunabuster is thinking of Krishna. And again, it could be the name, the form, the qualities, the pastimes. Like sweet baby Krishna, that's like, let's take an hour of our day, right? And let's bring our mind to Krishna's... Huh?
Jeffrey Ackle wrote, who are you going to call?
and so you bring your mind to Krishna's pastimes for an hour or so. And that right there, what it's doing is it's busting the effect of gunas on your consciousness. You could do the same thing by meditating on the name, whether it be through kirtan, or doing it musically with a group of people, or with japa, by doing it individually, meditating with your beads. But that bringing your mind to God in this way busts the gunas. Any idea of the verses I'm thinking about?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to share them?
The big one. The last verse. What's the last verse of the 14th chapter?
The last verse of the 14th chapter. Oh, I wasn't thinking of that. But not the last verse, but the second to last verse. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Mamcha yo vyabhicharena.
Mamcha yo, yeah, that's the great one. Mamcha yo bhakti. Mamcha yo bhakti charena.
No. Mamcha yo vyabhicharena.
Oh yeah. Mamcha yo vyabhicharena. Bhakti yogena sevate. Syan mahat
Sagunan.
Saguna. Okay.
Samititaitan. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Right.
Yeah.
So
As soon as you surrender, Krishna lifts those modes, lifts the gunas. You're out. It's such
yeah.
an interesting process.
It,
And you know when people are going to really experience the gunas, and I think they're coming, is
what's that?
is at these Rath Yatra festivals, which we're doing for Wisdom of the Sages retreat.
All right.
You know, because there's the regular park, Washington Square Park, where they usually have a, you know, it's the park, people hanging out in the park, smoking pot or playing music and stuff like that. It's, you know, it's like a nice park scene. Venice Beach is the same way. They do the Rath Yatra in LA there as well.
People
But
enjoying the modes of
Venice
nature.
Beach, people, yeah, in the gunas, the throes of Rajas and Tamas.
Okay.
But when they set up the parade site, where after the Jagannath festival, you're chanting, you're dancing, you're in the midst of the city, you don't even realize that you're not of this world anymore. You're actually of a spiritual plane, and it's something that you have to just experience it. It's something I can explain it to you because there's no words for it. But you will not feel of Los Angeles, or you'll not feel of New York City. And then if they do it this year because of COVID, I'm pretty sure it's happening. They set up a whole festival in the park.
There's going to be
And
one way or another. The festival will be there.
yeah,
But,
and Mara's going to be
whether
there
the usual full
at the
setup will
Wisdom
be
of the
there or not.
Sages table. Mara will be there at the Wisdom of the Sages table,
Yeah.
answering questions, repeating shlokas. But anyway, what happens is you get such a high within associating with all that community, that spiritual community. You feel like, the park is so especially beautiful today. It's so wonderful today. And then you step outside of that circle and you realize, and you get the experience of the gunas of the actual park. And it's different. You can notice it. It's like a spiritual joy versus material, whatever you call that. It might be joy for you, or it might be pleasure for you. It might be repulsive to you, whatever you think the park is like. Some people don't like to go to the park. But it is definitely of a higher caliber of joy. And it's something that is it's you experience it with your own senses. And no one's got to preach it to you. You'll experience it. As Mara dances down Fifth Avenue gleefully in her gopi skirts or whatever she's going to wear.
She's not going to be at the working the table?
Well, she might be. She's been also trying on various outfits for what she's going to wear.
GopiSkirt.com?
Yeah, GopiSkirt.com. Because she's what do you call it? She's very interested in pleasing Lord Jagannath, not for any ego reason. She just wants to dress for the pleasure of Lord Jagannath, which is the ultimate goal of fashion.
Are you bringing me back some gopi skirts? From LA?
Oh, you didn't even think of that.
Throw it for my daughter.
So in this verse, let's take a look at the verse that Raghunath is quoted here. Mam unto me, yeah, right? Mam cha ya. This is how Krishna sells it, right? Like he's going to say, hey, you don't have to do the same thing, because earlier in the 6th chapter, he described to Arjuna what the ashtanga-yoga path looks like, where it was like you got to leave home, got to go out in the middle of nowhere, sit down quietly, practice brahmacharya, bring your mind onto one point. Whenever it wanders, bring it back, And Arjuna heard about this path and he said, I don't think I can do it. Right?
Yeah.
What did he say, Raghu?
Can't do it.
Why not?
I don't think I could do this.
Because?
It's like controlling the mind. It's like controlling the wind. Can't control the wind.
Yeah, the mind is harder to control than the wind, right? So now what he's saying here, and again, he's mentioned this in other places in the Gita, but he's saying there's another way, and that is you bring your mind to me. And if you bring your mind to me, it doesn't matter if you live at home. You can live at home and that's fine. You can have a job and that's fine. You can be working in the world and that's fine, with social responsibilities and so on. You can even be Lord Brahma, and have the biggest social responsibilities at all. But
you can be Kaustubha living in New York City. When you think of a city, you don't think, well, that's not a spiritual place. You can actually transcend. I mean, New York is a very intense place.
It is.
And if you're not from the city and you go there, you're like, you get a little almost like shocked, or you feel like I got to get out of here, or I'm very excited. as soon as you cross that George Washington Bridge, there's like a buzz, isn't there?
It's true.
You know, you're coming over the Hudson River's like, yeah, here it is, New York, New York.
You know, it's true. If you had to pick any place in the world that personify or that really represents Rajaguna, Manhattan would be a good choice, right?
Mumbai's up there, Jakarta.
Those places are there, but I would even
Singapore.
say New York first off because
Taiwan.
it's a city that was like specifically created with the developed with the mode of passion just as the primary purpose, like entirely, like it's where people even put aside all of their different nationalities and national interest and racial interest and all like to make money. Like that's really what Manhattan's all about. Like the oldest part of the island, that was, that Europeans settled is the very tip of Manhattan, which to this day is, the Wall Street area. And it was just all about making money. I don't care where you're from or who you are. As long as we can make money, we can work together. And so Manhattan still is, about making money. That's what this place is all about. And it's just,
and there's that famous Vedic quote too. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah, there's that
it's
one.
up to you. New York,
Okay.
New York.
And so yeah, it's a fact, right? Like when you're here, you feel that influence. It is palpable, right?
Yeah.
So
anyway, there's ways to transcend it in New York. Kaustubha's living it right now. We've witnessed it.
I get affected too.
Me and Mara go visit Kaustubha. It's like he's not of this world. This guy.
No,
He's created a little. And that's what the concept of an ashram is. Yoga studio owners. That's what you're trying to create.
What does the word ashram mean?
Place to take shelter, like a shrine.
Shelter, right? Yeah, like a shelter from those modes of nature, right?
Shelter from the storm.
Shelter from the
storm.
Don't
get me going. But yoga teachers. That's what we're trying to create. We're trying to create a place where, people don't go to the churches. In Europe, you go to the churches because they're almost like museums. Almost. Let's go to the cathedral, or let's go to the dome, or let's go to. But it's almost like a museum. You're not going there to pray very often. But these yoga studios have become the new churches. People go there to find some peace from the storm of material existence. And so if you own a studio out there, you have a massive responsibility. You got to make this place sattvik, so they come in, they feel peaceful. There's kirtan or soft mantras chanting in the background, or nice smelling incense, or it's the lighting. Everything is nice.
But I think even beyond those external things, right? It also has to do with the intention of like the consciousness and the intention of the people that run the studio. Right? Like, what is their purpose in this? Because that certainly, a lot of yoga studios, like passion is their selling point, right? Like Rajaguna is their selling point. Like, come here and we're gonna kick your butt, and you're gonna walk out here looking like that. You know what I'm saying? And then they're playing really passionate music, like really Rajasic music, and doing the asanas.
Yep.
So it's like there's not a whole lot of sattva-guna in there, and therefore there's not a whole lot of mental clarity.
There's some metal yoga now. Have you heard that?
There. That's the Tamasic style of
speed metal yoga. There's some punk and goth yoga.
Yeah. So in this verse, he said, so we can read it again. And this is how Krishna's selling it. He's saying, I already, Arjuna, you were kind of fixed on like leaving the battlefield, giving up your social responsibilities, giving up your work, and kind of being like one of those yogis that does like ashtanga-yoga. And then in the 6th chapter, he described ashtanga-yoga, going out to the forest, sitting alone, focusing the mind, practicing celibacy and all that. Arjuna said, I don't think I can do it. Well, here he's saying that's okay. And he's really selling bhakti-yoga. He says, mam cha yo vyabhicharena. Avyabhicharena means without fail. Like, he didn't say that about ashtanga yoga, like if you do it, you won't fail. But here he's saying, if you can do this without fail, this is going to work, right? Bhakti yoga will work. So, mam cha yo vyabhicharena, bhakti yogena sevate. If you engage in service and engage your mind in bhakti, then sagunan, the modes of material nature, samitityaitan, all of these you'll transcend. You will transcend them. And then brahma bhuyaya kalpate. And your mind, your life, you all of it will become one with, will be on the platform, the spiritual platform. It'll be Brahma Bhuya. It'll be like elevated to that spiritual energy. That means, in other words, the energy that's not touched by these three modes, the energy where there's the deepest spiritual bliss and clarity and so on. So he's saying you do it by bringing your mind to me, right? In the Bhagavatam, in the verse that we read today, he's saying, Brahma, even though you're engaged in this super rajasic, like act of creation, you will be so deeply immersed in engagement with material energy, so prone to being affected by it, and being affected by pride. He's saying, but because your mind's fixed on me, you won't be touched by that mode of passion.
This reminds me about a lot of our students will say, or listeners will say, how do I do it? How do I go home for the holidays? How do I deal with family issues where people aren't so spiritual? How do I go to the workplace where it's a little overwhelming? And sometimes I feel myself getting taken down and changing my my own consciousness. How do I protect myself? This is our whole balancing act we're working on. Our whole zip line we have to cross in the material world is how to apply a spiritual practice to have fortitude to deal with the circles I have to walk in on a regular basis, where the circles aren't taking me down or affecting my consciousness. And so this is why we're pushing this regular sadhana, regular hearing of sacred literature, regular hearing truth, regular hearing wisdom literature, regular chanting of mantras on our beads. If you haven't tried it, dive into that. You find some malas, chant the Hare Krishna mantra, one mantra on each mala. This isn't my great revelation. This is what masters have been doing for millennia. And it becomes, on your downtime, listen to kirtan, listen to classes, use this information age for what it has, especially if you're going through hardships right now. A lot of people are going through hardships. Take shelter in these sacred sounds, in the sacred sadhana, and fill your mind. And then you're going to take a break, and then all of a sudden that anxiety might flood in. But protect yourself with like an armor. And the armor is sacred sound, sacred information, sacred lifestyle, sacred rituals. And that's how, and after a while, it just becomes normal. You become sacred by doing it on a regular basis. This is how a person like Swami Prabhupada a transcendentalist can come to the ghetto of the Lower East Side in the 60s and just deal with all the nonsense. Why? It's not affected by it. It's like having a it's like the boy in the plastic bubble. You know what that is? You know what
I
the boy in
do.
the plastic bubble is?
John Travolta?
It's almost John Travolta, yes. Had that plastic bubble, he lived in that thing, protecting himself from COVID and other things, whatever was out there. So we need that plastic bubble to protect us from the nonsense of the material world. Regular hearing and chanting. And this is the way we deal with the material world. And eventually it's not such a weird artificial outfit we're putting on. It just becomes part of what we are.
Arjuna, you see, we're getting two examples here, right? We have the example of Brahma. No one is more materially engaged than Brahma, right? And then we have Arjuna. Arjuna is about to fight in a battle, right? So these are external circumstances which seem like where one is very prone to be influenced by them. It's not like, Arjuna was like about to, take up a forest ranger job or, you know what I'm saying? Or working, in some soap store or something like that.
Whole Foods.
Whatever. So he had to go and fight a battle. So it's like the last place, right, that you think is going to be suitable for yoga, suitable for transcending the modes of material nature. But in both cases, we're hearing, here's the answer, and here's the answer that'll work without fail, Krishna's saying. And that is by bringing your mind to him, by engaging in devotional service, by engaging the mind in serving Krishna, or bringing the mind to Krishna. So in text 20, the 14th chapter explains the three modes of nature, and it breaks them down in a real nice, clear way. And then towards the end of that chapter, in text 21, Arjuna inquires from Krishna. He says, by what symptoms is one known who is transcendental to these three modes? Right? Like if you got a person that's transcendent, tell me their symptoms. What does it look like? I need to understand that. I need to think about it. I need to look at my own life and see where I'm lacking in these symptoms. And he says, what is their behavior? What are their symptoms? What is their behavior? And then finally he says, and how does that person transcend the modes? Right? That's text 21 of chapter 14 of the Gita. And here's Krishna's answer. Are you ready, Raghu?
I'm ready. I love this chapter.
So
Matter of
first,
fact, I highly recommend everybody read this chapter today.
read it
Even if
today.
you're just reading the verses. Begin. How many verses in this one? 36?
I think 27. 20
Okay.
Yeah, 27.
Mara, can you do that? Can you do that? Can
Yeah,
you
I'll read
it?
the chapter. I will.
Okay, I'm gonna read the
I
chapter.
look out for Mara.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the answer to the first two questions. What are the symptoms and behavior of one who has transcended the three modes of nature? So Krishna replies, "Oh Arjuna, that person who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion." That's basically the three modes, right? The person that doesn't hate the three modes, that doesn't have, but who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, or long for them when they disappear, who is unwavering and undisturbed through all these reactions of the material qualities, remaining neutral and transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active, who is situated in the self and regards alike happiness and distress, who looks upon a lump of earth, a stone, and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is equal toward the desirable and the undesirable. Right? There's a big one right there, right? Pleasant
It's
or
huge.
unpleasant things happen in life. I'm equal. It doesn't rock me. Who is steady, situated equally well in praise or blame. Another tough one. Honor and dishonor.
It's a big tough one. People calling you out,
Yeah.
making fun of you,
Yeah.
don't like the way you look,
Mm-hmm.
saying you look old, making fun of your kurtas,
Mm-hmm.
anything. Not affected.
Okay, so I think those were like when he asked what are their symptoms and now their behavior, who treats alike both friend and enemy.
Beautiful.
And who is said to have renounced all material activities. Such a person is said to have transcended the modes of nature. Okay, so that had a lot to do with that samadvam, right? That equal under all different circumstances. That means you're beginning to become free from the influence of these modes, and it plays out in your behavior by how you relate to people. That you can relate to everyone as a friend, in one sense. And then the question is, well, how does one achieve that? And that's the verse that we read, that one who engages in full bhakti, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Really important verse. That's 14:26.
Training us how to be in this world but not of this world.
That's right.
That's what it is. When you're above the gunas, that's what it is. You're still going out through the world. Some people say, well, you're in isolation. No, not true.
That's right.
You could engage, think about when you were a brahmachari, you met hundreds of people a day, much more. You were the least in isolation than even someone working a regular job. You met so many people. I met so many people as a monk. It's just the opposite, actually. But
It's insulation, not isolation.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep that one.
You like that one?
Mara, hashtag that.
Hashtag
Insulation, not isolation.
Still go out there in the world, but what do you insulate yourself with? So I don't want you, just like, you have a spacesuit. You don't, our spacesuit is our meditation, like our sadhana, our chanting, our hearing Bhagavatam, that's the
It's also a special K. It's special K. It's also a really refined discernment of who we want to let influence us. Like you walk into the world and you realize, I'm going to give influence to this people, but I'm going to be careful of what influence I take. That is something I think you really start to develop. You got feelers out and you feel where their consciousness is at, and you all of a sudden you put up a filter. I'm not going to accept this in. Because we understand what people really have the ability to influence, and therefore we're very careful who we let influence us, who our teachers are, who our peers are. and at what point we have to just sort of like put up that invisible shield of
You know what I
not
call
let
that
stuff in.
shield, that filter?
What?
Or the process of applying that filter? That's
What?
called bhuddhi-yoga, right? It's like rather than just operating under the influence of your senses or the manas, which is just programmed to respond with either I like it or I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's that intellect that has been nourished, strengthened, sharpened by hearing wisdom, that whatever you see through your eyes, it passes through that filter of the intelligence. And so you don't just follow the dictation of the senses or the mind, but you analyze, is this what I want to let in or not?
Right.
Is this what I'm going to allow myself to be influenced by, to be changed by, to be shaped by? Or with my intellect, can I say, I reject this? Like I'm
Right.
living in the middle of it, but this isn't going to affect me. Right. That's
That's your
bhuddhi-yoga.
spacesuit.
Yeah, that's what we
That's
call
your
it.
spacesuit.
Yeah. You got to strengthen that spacesuit every day by hearing a little Bhagavad-gita.
Mara,
Yes.
what can I walk away with today? What wise take home, practice, put to work, perhaps get a tattoo on my neck? What do you got for me?
I got some good tattoos today.
I'm going to get a tattoo on my neck one day and blow all your minds.
The first ones are a little long, but
Okay.
all right.
Little
Clear,
long, okay.
clear the
You got a
false
big neck?
clear the false programming of the mind.
Bad tattoo, but I like it.
No. Fixing your mind on Krishna is the ultimate Gunabuster.
Gunabusters, that's the one for today.
Gunabuster would be a good one.
I like Gunabuster. Wouldn't get the tattoo. Might wear a t-shirt. Go ahead.
Take shit.
Wouldn't you get a tattoo?
The Gunabuster.
What if we
No.
created like a creature that was like the Gunabusters, something like a cool looking like logo kind of mascot?
Oh, I can tattoo it.
Take shelter in your sadhana. Armor up
Take
with
shelter.
armor up with sacred sound.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Pretty good. Insulation, not isolation.
That's a big one for today.
Yeah.
T-shirt.
And then
It's a mug. That's a mug.
a mug. Refine our discernment of who we take influence from.
All right.
That's a wise statement, but yes. All right. That was beautiful. Thank you guys for joining me in the, what do I call this? Petrified Forest. That's where we are.
At
And
first
we're
it was
gonna see-
afraid, it was petrified.
At first I was afraid, I was petrified. Thank you, everybody. Wow. We're doing it. We're on the road and we're doing this. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for tolerating my on the road visuals here. I guess if you're an other, you can't really tell, but it's a little shaky today. Patreon.com is the way you can support us if you like what we're doing. We're trying to do the Bhagavad-gita every day for our benefit, and it subsists on your contribution. So if you want to support us, patreon.com/wisdom of the sages, and we are very grateful for those who already joined. We have our Bhakti recovery group. We have Sweet Baby Krishna is coming. I think tomorrow's the day. And remember, we would love to meet you guys at our retreats. We're doing one in New York and one in Long Beach, California. Any questions for Question Day, you can write Mara, Wisdom of the Sages 108 at gmail.com. That's the best way to reach us. Wisdom of the Sages 108. It's a beautiful day for a beautiful day.